Is it a bird? Is it a plane? No, it's Porsche's new Taycan. And you may be wondering what on earth that is. Well, to help you, remember when you were a kid and you thought about cars from the future? Perhaps you thought about flying vehicles and scenes from the Jetsons. Well, this is Porsche's first all-electric performance vehicle. And while it may not be able to fly, it is out of this world. So it may not be able to take off, but it certainly looks like a spaceship, a very good looking one at that. So you may be wondering, where on earth do you put in your jet fuel? Well, in this case, this car is proudly powered by Eskom at the click of a button. Like everybody else, I just can't stop staring at this car. And the only way I can think of distracting myself is by jumping inside. Again, sitting inside here, I automatically know that I'm in a Porsche from the future. But everything feels familiar, just extremely modernized. So you'll notice that there are very few buttons to work with. Instead, I've got these touchscreens that I can configure to my liking.
How can I help you?
Sorry, Porsche, I'm just busy delivering a link. It's important to remember that this is an electric vehicle, and the whole point about an electric vehicle is the fact that it needs to be friendlier to the environment. So you'll be happy to know that you can spec your Taycan with no leather whatsoever, so you can further do your bit for the environment. So the Porsche Taycan features two electric motors, one in the front axle and one in the rear axle, meaning this vehicle is actually four-wheel drive. But it also depends on the mode that you're in. So you've got four different modes in this vehicle. You've got the range mode, the normal mode, sport and sport plus. In range mode, the car is essentially front-wheel driven, as the whole point of that mode is to use as little power as possible. In terms of range, you should get up to 412 kilometers on one charge in this vehicle, which is very good, and that should also mitigate any range anxiety that you would get in an electric car. In a normal combustion engine, your brakes create a lot of kinetic energy. So what manufacturers have realized is that in electric cars, you can use that energy to recharge the batteries. What that normally feels like in a normal electric vehicle, let's say a BMW i3 or a Nissan Leaf, is that each time you lift off the pedal, it feels like you're being pulled. But what's actually happening is that the car is using regenerative braking to charge the batteries. So what Porsche has done differently in the Taycan is that each time you lift off the accelerator pedal, it doesn't give you that sensation like you're braking. Instead, the car does do regenerative braking, but using the actual brake pedal itself. What Porsche has done is that they're actually using the electric motors to brake the vehicle. So 90% of your day-to-day braking is actually not using the brake pads themselves, but rather the electric engines. So Porsche estimates that it would take around about 6 years before you need to change your brake pads in this car, which again is crazy. So we've established that the Porsche Taycan can work as an everyday car. It gives you enough range for the day, if not the week. And on top of that, it's still very comfortable to drive because it uses very smart air suspension that swallows up all the bumps in the roads, so you don't really have to battle with any imperfections. But what if I told you that a car such as this can still be very exciting? To prove this, I want to show you something. I'm going to switch my drive mode from normal to Sport Plus. I'm going to put my left foot on the brake, my right foot on the pedal, activate launch control, and oh my word! So let's talk about some figures. This car does 0 to 100 in 2.8 seconds. It produces 460 kilowatts and 1050 newton meters of torque, And it's still got an overboost function, which gives you a further 100 kilowatts, giving you a total power output of 560 kilowatts. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, 560 kilowatts. And one thing we need to remember about an electric car is that it doesn't have a peak torque curve. So if I do this, the car reacts instantaneously. One thing that is mind-blowing about this car is the fact that it weighs over 2 tons. But you never think to yourself that, oh, it feels a bit leery on the road. You turn in and it turns in. It's crazy how Porsche have been able to actually use this new technology to their advantage. How they've done that is that they've put the batteries as low as possible, giving you a low center of gravity. So it gives you a nice driver confidence feel, similar to what you'd get in any other performance Porsche. But overall, I can honestly say that this Porsche is a technological masterpiece. It's scary how you can get this kind of performance and handling dynamics out of a car that doesn't use any fuel. It just goes to show that for people like us who like cars, the future is still quite bright.